Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome back to another episode of our Let's Play for Football Manager 2021 as we continue our Journeyman Glory Hunter series with RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. Today is the start of our second season after a very exciting first season. But we're going to start off with the transfer special stuff today. Of course, we're also going to look at the season review from last season as well, which, again, really exciting. If you missed the first season, highly recommend you go back and watch that. But we have one goal this season. That goal is to win the German Cup. And maybe the Champions League. I guess 2 goals. Let's get into the episode. All right, here we are. End of season review for 2029. Oh, that's a long ways into the future. Oh, crazy. Let's see who we got as the new arrivals. A lot of new arrivals. Our best player overall, Guillermo Johnson, coming in at 22 years old, came in for a lot of money, although he was cheaper than Hasenhüttl. I'm not disappointed though, to be honest. I think Hasenhüttl was well worth it, and I think Guillermo Johnson was well worth it. So I liked both these guys. I thought both these guys were awesome. An A- from the board, not half bad. Hasenhüttl comes in with a B+, probably because it was a little too expensive, which, you know, but it was Hasenhüttl. Come on. I mean, it was Hasenhüttl. I can understand that being a little bit lower grade, but hey, it's still a really solid grade. Then we brought in Guido Baron here, another solid player. Again, probably a little too expensive, but honestly, this next season, he's already paid for. Who cares how much he cost this last season, right? He did the job. We got what we need to do. Boostlin comes in an A-, really solid deal for him as well. Moyes is coming in. That's actually an E because we did end up paying 1.6 mil just to get him on loan. He did get a 7.01. Unfortunately, he will not be back for us this season. They wanted way too much money for him, so it is what it is. Volpez comes in C-. Okay. I mean, I don't think he costs us that much, and he actually got a 7.01 on 27 appearances with 2 substitutes. For someone who was not like an amazing player, I felt like that was a pretty decent deal overall. Then we got Wrench coming in here, B-, 6.92 overall. He cost quite a bit of money, but I mean, he played well for us, not amazing. And I definitely think our defense is something that we need to shore up this next season. Sudo came in late. He came in mid-season, so he only played 22 games for us. Not quite, you know, not quite getting to that 7.0 finish. Still above average overall. Probably way too much money for him as well. But again, going into this next season, I'm really hoping to see some better stuff from him. We got Ryan Davis, also from Tottenham. Not an amazing score here. Quite a bit cheaper than most of these other guys, though. So I think that was a fairly decent deal. Martinelli. I guess we brought him in to send him out on loan, didn't we? I kind of forgot about him. And then, of course, Eric Dorfler down here, who actually both these guys came up from the second team, I guess. Or how did that work? I think we brought him in, but came into second team, and then we promoted him up from that. I think that's actually how it ended up being. Transfers out. We'll just zip through these real quick to see if there's any that they just really thought was a terrible deal. I mean, getting rid of Pagodo here, I don't know. We didn't get a ton of money for him. We sent him back to Owen, basically did a striker swap, and we ended up paying triple for our striker. He actually had a pretty decent season. 44 appearances, 21 goals, compared to Hasenhüttl's 42 appearances, 35 goals. I mean, obviously Hasenhüttl did a better season, but not a bad season. This would not have been a bad striker. My biggest reason for getting rid of him was because he was labeled as unpredictable, and so that made me a little nervous. And I figured let's just get us a good solid pair of strikers, and I'm pretty happy with who we got. Anybody? Okay, there's a D. Baccioni sold him for 26.5. I guess because we made a loss on him, so I can understand that. And honestly, elite center back like that, we would have liked to keep him, all things considered. Kluivert actually wasn't as bad as I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to ding us pretty hard for that one. I don't see anybody else that jumped out at me that was just crazy. And then, of course, loans out. I mean, not a big deal. So, all right, season results. Obviously, we know first place in the league by a decent margin and a huge margin in the goal differential department. So that was pretty awesome. Some pretty awesome wins throughout the season. Some pretty unexplainable losses and some pretty frustrating draws. So I definitely think we could have gotten even higher score than this, and I think we should have, because I think some of these draws should definitely have been wins, and then some of these unexplainable losses should have been draws at the very least. So we'll see what we can do this next season. B+ overall from the board, not half bad. Competition top score, Guillermo Johnson, 28 goals. Average home attendance, 38,000. 96% full, apparently. And the board expectation was to qualify for the European Championship Cup, which we did. Euro Cup, we didn't do so well in, although we weren't really trying that hard. I don't really care as much about this one. It is what it is. I still think we could have gotten past PSV Eindhoven. It's just they got a lucky late goal there. It is what it is. But again, I wasn't too upset about that. Then, of course, this is the one that was most disappointing about, and of course, the board is as well. An E for the Cup game. We should have won this. Absolutely, positively should have won this. No reason not to get past Fortuna Düsseldorf here. But what are you going to do, right? I mean, we can't go back and change that. We just have to do better this next season. Moments to remember. Our biggest win was against FC Nordsjælland. 8-0. I mean, that was an insane win. We had braces from Olmo, Hasnut, Adams. Had a goal from Johnson and a goal from Adiyami. Then our batch to remember was against FC Bayern here. We had just goals all around. Hasnut, Eric, Johnson, and Tonja all getting goals in that game. And then goal of the season. Let's go see this goal of the season was from who? Hasnut in the 85th minute. Okay, let's go check out Hasnut's 85th minute goal here. What did you do, Hasnut? I mean, obviously Hasnut and Johnson both played well in this game, so. All right, there's Johnson over to Hasnut. Hasnut pushing past the defense, using his speed, and just, I mean, he's just going to go for goal right there. I mean, just sneak it past the goalkeeper, just barely nudging it inside that left post. He did actually did that quite a bit. So seeing Hasnut do quite a few of those goals overall. Honestly, this was actually pretty late in the season too. This was a May 11th. Right. Actually, this is the second to last game, actually, come to think of it. So there you go. Second to last game. Reputation didn't change at all. No new sponsors, no necessarily notable deals. Our sponsorship did go up from last season, though. Broadcast revenue went down, interestingly enough. Corporate and hospitality, probably because of maybe some of the cup games and stuff like that. Maybe we didn't play in or something. Who knows? Competition prize money went up a smidge, and match day commercial and retail went up. Shirts sold. Let's see, Danny Olmo, of course. Johnson, Hasnut, of course. Soto. I'm actually surprised Soto got his shirts in there, seeing as he come in halfway through the season. And we had Eric and we had Baron and some other guys like that. Tonja getting some shirts sold. I really like Tonja. I mean, he's not rated super high compared to some of our other top players, but I thought he played outstanding this season. In fact, he is our best attacking, playmaker, attacking midfielder here, which I kind of agree with. So here's our best team, which is Baron on the left, Wrench and Eric in the middle. I think I agree with that. Kazaragi, who we got rid of at some point. Maybe we should have kept him. Adams playing defensive midfielder. Okay, I can see that. I definitely think we could probably shore that up a little bit as well. I mean, these two spots and this spot, honestly, all three of these that are under sevens, probably things we need to look into. Oh, of course, Boosline coming in as goalkeeper. Moises and Gulenbeck in the midfield. It's interesting that Gulenbeck gets in here over Sudo, but for the rating, I guess I get it. Tonja getting attacking midfield over Danny Olmo, to be fair, although Danny Olmo was injured for a bit of time as well. And of course, I mean, no question here. Hasnut Johnson up front. No question at all about those. All right. Accolades. This number here. This age number. Oh, that's painful to think about. Fans player of the season, obviously Guillermo Johnson. Not a big surprise. Fans young player of the season, Guillermo Johnson. Signing of the season, Guillermo Johnson. Goal of the season, Hasnut. Top goal scorer. Did he end up getting top goal scorer? I thought they tied. Did they not tie? It doesn't matter. Guillermo Johnson picking up most assists. Most player of the match awards was Hasnut, actually. Highest average rating was Johnson. Most passes was Tyler Adams. Competition awards. Under 21 footballer of the year was Johnson. German footballer of the year was Johnson. Awesome stuff all around. Record breakers. Most goals by player in a match, Johnson. Most goals by player in a league match, Johnson. Most assists by a player in a season, Johnson on 14. Most clean sheets by a player in a season, Boosland on 24. Most player of the match awards in a season, Hasnut on 13. Most league appearances by a player. Adams getting a bunch of there. Highest transfer fee paid, Soto. Oh, we paid a lot of money for him. And the youngest goal scorer, Gunther at 18. Actually, he was 17 years old, 312 days. Not bad. All right. History in the making. RB Leipzig started better than anyone would have expected and continued in that vein, storming all the way to the title. Love it. I love it. Let's see here. Gulenbeck named an RB Leipzig overall best 11. Really? And this is how their best 11 lines up, which, you know, it keeps the same attacking structure as what we're playing right now, and I like a lot, but does change up the defense a bit. We might have to look into this, see if this would be better for us, especially if we can really shore up the central defender role. We get 3 strong central defenders. This might not be a bad, especially if we can get this and not a defensive midfielder, you know what I mean? So something to think about. I'll have to look into that. Who else got in here? Anybody else? Was he the only one that got in here? Wow. I mean, Tanya's in there, obviously. That's fine. Interesting. Best 11 we don't really care about because we weren't here then anyway. Season review, obviously we just checked that out. 2024 team we don't care about. We weren't here. Seasonal performance analysis. Quite impenetrable defense. We weren't quite the best. Borussia Dortmund was. Not surprised there. Aggressive and clinical. We were very close to the most aggressive and clinical overall. FC Bayern Munich got us a little bit there. 71 XG, actual goes 87, highly overachieved there. 68.9 X points, 79 was actual, highly overachieved there. They expected us to be second. We got first, highly overachieved there. Average XG per match, 2.0. Wow. All right. Club vision expectations. They want us to play high tempo pressing football. They want us to play attacking football. I'm okay with both of those. Work within the wage budget. Should be fine. We actually got a pretty big boost to the wage budget. Minimum 4-year contracts for first team players. Interesting. Maintain the best youth system in the country. Maintain the best youth system in the world. I mean, obviously, we can do the second one. We're automatically going to do the first. I've heard that Germany is in the world, so I think that works. Become the most reputable team in Germany. Really? Huh. I mean, a little bit out of our control, but if we do well, there's always a chance. Grow the club's reputation. Obviously, those go hand in hand. Challenge for the Bundesliga. Definitely want to try and do that, although that will not be our priority. Champions Cup, reach first knockout round. I hope so. I think this team could make a run in the Champions Cup, but we'll see. Work towards becoming the most reputable team in Germany. They want us to become the most reputable team and work towards it. They want us to grow the club's reputation and grow the. I mean, that's kind of weird that there's both of those are on there twice. My contract expires next year. Blah blah blah. Nothing else here too crazy. They actually don't say anything about the cup games, so we'll go ahead and accept this. I'm okay with this division. Obviously, dressing room and managerial support are both high. Olmo, Adams, and Eric are our team leaders. As Newt Johnson, I'm sure, is in here, right? Yep, there he is. Highly influential players. End of season team meeting. All right. Let's see here. I think they're capable of winning it next season. They've got nothing to say. All right. That's kind. We'll take that. We want to reach the knockout stages, I think. I think that's fine. I'll wait to do promises. I'm hoping they're okay with that. Yep. We'll do promises later. Cool. All right. People are fairly happy with that. I'm okay with that as well. Anything else here we need to look at? I think that's it. Well, really, like I said, we're going to be doing some transfer special stuff. We've already got one transfer coming in, which you guys saw, which is future transfers. Mauricio here coming in. Well, I mean, there you go. I said if we don't have a strong defensive midfielder, we might have to try that other formation. Well, he can play midfield, so we don't have to play him as that defensive midfielder. But if we need him, if we want to stick with this formation, he would be a viable option for that spot. Our finances are we still got what? 80 million, right? 82 mil. Plenty of room in the wage budget. A decent amount of transfer budget. And that might change here in a few days as well. But like I said, team report. If we go look at the team report, let's go look at squad depth. And let's just go look at this. Got an overabundance of midfielders, actually. Good and one great midfielders. Really, it's this defensive right side. We have nobody great over there. Defensive center, we just don't have a lot of depth there. And just anything else that we can plug in here. It doesn't look like we have any great wingbacks, pushed up wingbacks. So we might stick with the defensive midfielder thing unless we can get us, if we get us at least a great pushed up wingback, like if we go get us another defensive right guy who can also play a great wingback up here, then we might go, I might settle for this guy over here, be on the left playing as a good level if we've got a great person over here and trying a different formation out at some point. But again, that also means we need to get us at least one more great central defender here. in order to go kind of that route, I think. All right, something to think about. We'll play around with it, but I will definitely let you guys know when we've got some news to have. We're still technically not finished with this season anyway. There's still a few things to go for, but I'll let you know when there is some transfer news. We'll be back in a bit. All right, so what do you do when you've got two of the best strikers in the world? Go and sign a third striker? Well, that's what we did. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I couldn't pass up the deal. We paid $28 million for this guy, and he's about as good as, let's see here. If he's about as good as either Johnson or Hasnut. I mean, look at this. A little bit better on the mental and the aerial. Not as good on the technical. I mean, he's a step down from Johnson right now in a lot of areas. If we just go look at general attributes, he does have a lot of other good attributes. His statistics, we haven't got anything for that. But, I mean, he's close to Johnson, I would say. He's also a year younger, so it's always possible he could develop into something a little bit better. But then we also compare him to Hasnut over here. Again, better in some spots, not as good as in others. Overall attributes, I mean, it's got some good stuff on the left, you know, where Hasnut's got some other stuff as well. So they're both really pretty good overall. And so now we have three really strong strikers. What do? We did also bring in Mauricio here as a either defensive midfielder or a midfielder. He actually technically plays a slightly better defensive midfielder, but he's a fully capable midfielder as well. We brought him in on 56 mil up front, going up to 84 mil. You guys saw him coming in from Manchester City, coming in from FC Bayern. This one, we're not paying a whole lot up front, but we're going to pay a whole lot over time. We did bring Kashiev in, which I don't know if you remember a couple episodes ago. I think I mentioned that I tried to bring him in. He didn't want to agree to the contract. We did get him to finally agree to the contract. And we actually ended up paying less for him than we did in that initial run. But he can play attacking midfielder as a solid attacking midfielder, but he can also play a really good midfielder. So what do? Do we get rid of one of our other strikers and accept the fact that maybe we go sell Hasnut or Johnson for 100 mil and basically got a pretty close replacement for almost a quarter of the price, and then still have a whole bunch of money to go spend on a bunch of other players? That's one way to do it. You know, that would be one option. And that might be the better option. Another option could be, let's just go to one of these tactics, like this tactic we haven't been using. So let's go to this tactic for a second. What if we, is there one here that's already set up? I don't think there is. And you might already know what I'm thinking, but we'll see. If not, we'll just find one. All right, I'll just create a dummy one. Let's go ahead and just go edit tactic. What if we did something like, I'm just gonna leave it on vertical tiki-taka because it doesn't matter. That's just an example. What if we did this? I mentioned it, I think it was either in this series or the other. I've mentioned it recently in one of my recordings recently, either this one or the Kidderminster one. But what if we did something like that? Like, is this crazy? Because if we did something like this, then we've got Hasnut, Johnson, and the new guy in here, right? We've got Allen in here as well. We got all three of our strikers in here. Then we play Soto. We play, sorry, one second. We play Soto. We play Mauricio. Maybe not in these positions, obviously, but, and then we play Kashiev, right? Some other position, probably whatever they play that's best. Like maybe he plays Mazzala on this left-hand side, actually, which would probably be a pretty decent move, so he can roam a little bit more. Maybe he plays something to this effect, right? We still have, it's a similar formation to what we've been playing, right? Except instead of having a attacking midfielder, we push him up, and instead of having a defensive midfielder, we push him up. Similar idea, similar responsibilities in a lot of ways, but it definitely takes advantage of the fact that we have three strong strikers and three really good midfielders. Again, we could also just, I suppose in theory, we could always just pull somebody back to a defensive midfielder as well. Do something like that, but that's, whatever. Do any of these guys play midfield at all? I don't think so. We just put a guy back here as let's actually do this. Let's move this guy down, because that'll just shrink those two guys together better. Anybody here play a good midfielder of these three guys? Kashiev, obviously, we know about him. Obviously, we still have Tonga. Tonga can still play midfield. I don't know. It's an interesting idea to sell on Johnson or Hasnut. I love the two guys, but being able to sell them on would allow us to get a couple more players in that I really would like to have. I'm also wanting to sell, to be honest, I want to sell Danny Elmo. He's great, but he's getting a little bit older. And I also want to sell Adams. Again, really strong player, but I think we can get some value for him and get some more players in for them. I'm going to think about it. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to think about it. I don't know how good this formation would be. I have seen the computer play it against me, at least in one of the games. Again, I can't remember which team I was playing as that I saw, but I have seen it against us at one point. And it has some similar components and similar kind of ideas to the one that we've been using. Not this one, sorry, this one. There's some similarities here, just a little different. So something to think about. I'm going to go away and think about that for a little bit. Obviously, by the time you guys see this, I will have already made my decision. So feel free to leave a comment about what you would have done, but I am already going to have made that decision by the time you guys see this again. So we'll come back when I've got some more information. All right, it is July 21st, and we're still about a month away from the start of the actual regular season here in the Bundesliga. So we have a few more friendlies to play and stuff like that. But I did want to show you this World Cup Dream Team. It is pretty awesome to have both Hasnut and Johnson in the World Cup Dream Team. So two obviously world-class strikers that are playing for us right now. Still also kind of incentivizes me to potentially play for Holland or coach the Holland team because they might be able to win me a World Cup in a few years, as well as some of the other stuff going on. So tempting. And I will also point out that France and Holland are the teams that made it to the World Cup final this cycle, and France ended up winning it on penalties. So close game, very, very close game, but France did technically win it. So I have a decision to make, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. But before we get to that, let's go look at the transfers real quick, because I do have a few transfers coming around. We have, let's see here. If we look at anything here on the out, I can't remember when you guys last saw. I know you guys saw Alan, Mauricio, and Kashiev. I don't think you guys saw any of this stuff going out, though. So we did sell Virginius here. We sold him off for about 20 mil. Felt like it was a decent one because he was out on loan anyway. We weren't really using him. He's a winger, so we weren't planning on using him this season. So sending him out, getting him out of here allowed us to get some other players in as well. There's a couple other smaller players here that we're not really going to call out too much. Adeyemi's probably the big one. We obviously have 3 world-class strikers right now. Well, definitely 2 world-class strikers and another striker that's not too far behind. And so Adeyemi, again, because we're not playing wingers, we just don't need him as a striker right now. And so we decided to go ahead and sell him on as well because we've got plenty of strikers at the moment. And we were able to get 44 mil for him, which seemed like a pretty nice sum of money. Plus, it allows us to get that money, flip it into some more of the defensive side of things and things like that. We are going to go ahead and we did go ahead and sell off Nubel. He's a backup goalkeeper. We have another goalkeeper that's 2-star currently that we can play as a backup. And so it felt like a decent thing to just kind of get him sold off on, get a little bit of money for him as well, just kind of add to the pool of what we can do with. And then, like I said, a couple other small things that are kind of a little bit irrelevant. You guys saw the top 3 here. We then brought in Fabi here. He probably spent a little too much money for him. He's literally just here as a backup. He was valued at, like I said, you can see he's valued at 6.5 mil. We're paying 13.75 mil for him. So not quite his value, but it still probably is maybe more than we needed to. I don't know. It's hard to tell. 2.5 star, could go up to 3 star, 24 years old. I don't know. I mean, he was close to a 7 last season in the Bundesliga for Eintracht Frankfurt. So we know he can play in this league. And again, he's just really here as a backup and some rotation, kind of gives guys some rest, things like that. So we'll see what happens with him. Prado is another guy coming in just purely as a rotation rest kind of guy. Only 2-star, really 2.5 star potential. Really not much here. Just another player just to fill up a spot in an emergency. Literally what he is, emergency backup. That's literally all he's here for. We basically paid nothing for him, to be fair. And then we brought in the big guy. I wasn't going to bring in big guys, but honestly, here's the problem I had, and the reason why I brought in Fabi and Prado is that I was looking for a central defender or a right back, and we could either pay lots of money or we could pay basically nothing, and the gap was like huge. Like we could pay lots of money for like a 3.5 star, 4-star player, or we could pay like nothing for a 2.5 star player, and there was nothing in the middle. There was not like any solid 3-star players that we could get for 20 mil, 30 mil, something like that. So we bought it a couple of these small, cheaper guys, and then we went out and got Alader here as well. He's currently a solid 4-star, 4.5 star potential, 22 years old, still young. He's had 4 caps for France. not bad. I mean, that French team that just won, he's already got 4 caps for him. And obviously a bunch of under 21 caps as well. So we know he's a good player. He actually, weirdly, even though he's more natural in the middle, he's only accomplished on the right, and his star rating goes higher on the right. That's odd. That's kind of a weird one. But he can play both. And he's really solid at both as well. His crossing isn't super great, so I probably will prefer to play him more central defender than on the right. But he definitely is an option that can flip around here and there and do what we need to do. 7.3 rating, only 1 substitute appearance, but he did get a goal, strangely enough, in the World Cup. But like I said, he's valued at 65 mil. We did pay 58 mil up front, going up to 80 mil. So we're paying a little over him over time. But I felt like he was a decent one coming in from Schalke, which does mean he does know how to play in this league. Actually, how did he play last season? I thought he played. Is this the one okay, 6.85, 6.82. He's been, above average for the last few seasons. So not like outstanding, but I feel like he's still going to be a strong lift to our defense compared to what we had already. So he comes in there right alongside Eric, most likely in the central defender role. And in fact, if we go look at our squad depth, this would allow him. Again, he is technically our best right back, but I think I would rather have guys that can either cross or something like that. We'll have to play around with that a little bit. But he can definitely be a solid partner to Eric with Wrench. Honestly, with Wrench either playing as the other partner of Eric or on the right-hand side, depending. We can swap those two, to be fair. Those two can kind of flip-flop as needed. Although Wrench is crossing is actually even worse. How's Davis? Not Davis. There we go. Davis. Davis is crossing. Honestly, we don't have anybody that has any good crossing, to be fair. I mean, Adams might be some of the best crossing we have. Alder, I mean, really, we just have nobody that can cross the ball right now. What about Barron on the left? Barron at least can cross. So, although to be fair, in some of these formations, it's less about crossing and more just moving up the middle of the field, to be fair. We have been playing this 4-3-3 narrow for the last little bit. And we go look at the schedule. Now, we've been playing nobody teams. These are nothing teams. In fact, our first real team is going to be coming up here in a few days against Hoffenheim. We'll play Borussia Dortmund. We'll play VfB Stuttgart, and then we'll play FC Bayern. We're actually playing some pretty tough teams in the friendlies just because why not? I kind of wanted to test out this formation to see how it went against real teams. So I went ahead and got in a couple of real good teams in here, and we'll see how it plays against them. But, I mean, 13-1, 8-1, 12-0, 10-0, 6-0. There's some points. We're scoring some points, guys. So we'll see how this formation goes. If worse comes to worse, we'll just go back to the other formation, and we've got the players to move around and do that. That's going to be fine. I have not, as you can tell, I have not sold off either Johnson or Hasnuk. I haven't decided for sure yet, but I just don't feel like I need to right now. I feel like we're okay. I think we're going to be fine without selling right this second. And then also, I tried selling off Olmo and Adams. I did eventually get Adams. I think he's going to be leaving soon. Let's see here. Wait, did he already leave? Did I already look at that one? What am I looking for? All. I thought I had, what am I, oh, just transfer history. Yeah, Adams hasn't left yet. We had an offer. Okay, that's what it was. We had an offer coming for Adams from Zebra, however you say that. Yeah. Anyway, and they, I guess that's Juventus, to be fair. He turned it down. Like, he didn't want to go there. We actually had a really good offer for him. And so I've offered him out again recently, and I thought we got an approval for him, but I obviously don't see it there. So it must not have come through, which is fine. Honestly, with the squad we have, I'm actually fairly okay with keeping Adams and Olmo, to be fair. Olmo comes in as a very solid backup if we do need somebody on the striker role or midfield. So, or if we go back to the attacking midfielder role. So I think I'm going to keep them both. I think they're both good, that good substitute thing. I mean, we could have gotten some decent money for them, but just nobody wanted to come through for it, which is fine. I also tried to sell off Tonga, but people just didn't want to pay for him either. So we have some guys that can play substitute. And again, if we decide to move formations around, they'll be able to play in those spots as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about our depth. There's one more player I'm trying to go after right now, which is a right back, I believe. Let me go. Not transfers. Transfer targets. There we go. Wait, where's the transfer target? Is it under scouting? Shortlist. I just added a dude that I was like, I'm going to go and try and grab this guy as soon as possible. And now I don't see him. Well, that's a bit unfortunate because I really wanted to follow through on that. I'll find him. If I find him, I'll come back and we'll talk about it. But I am not finding him now. So we'll see if he just got stuck somewhere and I just not figuring out where he. I thought I added him to the transfer list, but apparently not. The decision we've got to make. I'm sorry, I've been kind of delaying this thing. Here's the decision we've got to make. Come back to the top of the inbox. I have applied to 3 of the national teams. Now, granted, the World Cup just ended, so we're not going to see another World Cup for 4 more years. So we've got to, but we need to kind of get into the international scene a little bit. So we have 3 teams, and all 3 of these teams are teams that honestly would be really good to play for. England, for sure. England it's a big international team. That would be fun to play for. Holland, I went ahead and applied for them because Hasnut and Johnson. I mean, I would love to play with those guys. Plus, they just got second in the World Cup. So we know they're good enough. We know they're good enough. But we also have Spain in here. Spain is number 2. In fact, if we go look right now, Spain is currently number 2 in the world rankings. Here's the world rankings. Holland is number 4. They're actually above England in the rankings at the moment. They actually just leapfrogged them, probably because of their World Cup performance. And so Holland is in the top 5 here. In fact, Italy is just way down here. We've got France, Spain, England. Where is Germany's way down here as well. So Germany and Italy are out of the top 5 as far as just overall world rankings are concerned. And Brazil and Holland take those 2 spots. If we're looking at the places that have the leagues that are in the top 5, you know? So it goes back to that question of, do we consider, is it any of these teams okay? South America would not be good because we still have to win the Euro League as well with one of these national teams. And so we do need to play one of these other 4. The real question is just whether Holland counts, because Holland is obviously in this list, but we're not playing their kind of Premier League or Champion League, whatever you want to call it, top league division. We're not counting that as one of the things. So I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. Honestly, I didn't expect Holland to be this high up in the listings, so I wasn't planning on going there. The one benefit of going to Spain or England or Holland, to be fair, is that we can find players in any of those places that can play for us in any of the club teams that we play with, or vice versa. Players that we play in the club teams, we can find some guys that can play in our national team. So there's some good crossover there and things like that. So I'm going to be honest, I'm leaning towards Spain because they are the highest rated of the ones that came out and offered me a job. So I think we have a good chance of going with them. Plus, they might open up a door for us to go to Spain, a Spanish club next. You know what I mean? So, but I would love to play with Holland because of Hasnut and Johnson, because that would be so much fun to continue to play with those guys in that league. I mean, it's tempting. It's so tempting. The problem is that Holland, I mean, they haven't really been that good for a very long time. They're only good right now, honestly, probably because of Hasnut and Johnson. I mean, if you got 2 players that are in the top, World Cup team, those guys are really good. So I don't know if this is like just a fluke and that maybe long term they just won't be that good, because you can't have a team with just Hasnut and Johnson. You guys still have the rest of the players, and more than likely the Spanish team is going to have better players in all the spots than the Holland team. Spain, again, I mean, they're almost always up there. I mean, they've been second for a little while, third. I mean, they're almost always up in the top 5. So they're going to be a really, really solid team to play with. And again, of course, England. England's England. I mean, you can't go wrong with England usually. But I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Again, I'm going to have to make this decision before you guys ever see this episode. And so by the time you guys see this, I will have made this decision. It's just a matter of like who. I don't know. Man, they got some decent players, to be fair. They got some pretty good players. There's their captain right there, 4-star. I mean, they've got some good players. I think I'm going with Spain. Because it's either going to be Spain or Italy, most likely, that I go to next. I'll probably save in England for last. Maybe. We'll find out. But I'm probably going to go to Spain, because I think that might open the door for us to go to a Spanish league here in the next year or 2, once we're done with RB Leipzig. So that's kind of the direction I'm leaning. Plus, to be fair, they're offering us the biggest wage. So you can't really go wrong with that, to be honest. I think we go with Spain. What do you guys think? It's something different, something new. Because I don't think we're going to be in Germany very much longer. I think we're going to be able to finish what we need to finish in RB Leipzig here in the next year or 2 at most. And I think we're going to be moving on to the next nation very, very soon. So going ahead and getting our foot in the door at Spain, I feel like it's the right move. I'm going to go for it, guys. Let's do it. Why not? Why not? Let's go do Spain, which is going to add a lot more work for me, to be fair. I have my work cut out for me between episodes because I'm not going to show any of the Spanish stuff until we get into one of the things that we need, right? There's no, I mean, I'll show updates, but there's no reason to show games until we get into either the World Cup in 4 years or what is it, the European, is it just called the European Championship or something like that? I actually don't remember the name of it, but or I should say, I don't remember specifically what the game calls it. There's a few Wonder Kids in here, some decent players in here, several Wonder Kids actually. Do we have anybody? Oh, Moises. We get to play with Moises again. That's pretty cool. Anybody else that we've played with before? Gallardo. I've seen Gallardo. I don't think we've played with Gallardo, have we? That's pretty much it. Honestly, we're gonna meet a lot of new players, which is good. There is nothing wrong with meeting some new players, some new Spanish players that can help us in some of the leagues coming up. Sure, we'll go ahead and do all that. All right, we're in Spain, guys. We're in Spain. So we'll find out what happens. They expect us to be what? They don't care about this one. They're just evaluating our performance based on results in other competitions. Welcome to the Spanish setup. This is the first time I've ever coached international in any Football Manager game that I've played. So this is going to be kind of interesting. Lots of teams here. If we go look at the competitions. So the World Cup, again, obviously is not coming up until 2034. It's the... What is it that we want to... I forget what is it we're going for. There's European qualifying. Not the Champions Cup. What is the other thing that we're playing for? I have it on my thing, but I just forget. It's one of the European things, isn't it? Finished on. I'll figure it out. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I knew right off the top of my head, but I'm not seeing what I thought I was looking for. But we'll figure it out. There's one of the trophies I have to win with the national team, so we'll figure that one out. But yeah, here we go. Again, we got 4 years to build up a team for the World Cup. So we'll just try to play this in the background. In the worst case, if we get fired from this team before the World Cup, maybe we can still move into one of the other teams. But I think getting our foot in the door, starting to get that developed is going to be good as soon as possible. Because honestly, we're running out of time to win the World Cup before this challenge is over. We've only got, what, 3 more World Cups that we can go into? Because the 4th one would be just outside the timeline that I've set. So we'll have to come back to that. All right, we'll come back to this later, the Spanish stuff. But like I said, we're going to keep doing some transfer stuff. I'm trying to get a few guys. There's a couple other guys that I'm trying to move around to try and open up enough finances to get one final player. And I just can't find him right now. He's not on my transfer list, but I will find him and I will show you guys if we can grab him. But other than that, we'll probably the next thing we'll see is probably the day just before or the day of the first game of the league to see kind of how things turned up. And then we'll be ready to go. So we'll be back in a little bit. All right, we are back, and today is the day of our very first match of our second season in the Bundesliga. But let's go and do a quick transfer wrap up here. And weirdly, I was looking at this before I started to unpause the recording. We're missing a player over here. I sold a player, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He wasn't like super important or anything, but I sold a player for about 4 mil, and he's not here. He was just before Volpez went out. Completely gone, and I can't remember his name. It started with a B or something like that. He was a defensive guy or something. We had him out on loan last season, so I was like, well, we didn't need him. He was out on loan last season. Let's go ahead and sell him. And for whatever reason, he's just not here. I mean, I could go back to the email history, but it's not that important. We did sell another player for about 4.5 mil, something like that. And so he is gone. I'm trying to remember where he went. I don't remember. It's all good. We then also sold Volpez here. He went out for 16.75 mil, which is not too bad for a player that's valued at 8.5 mil. Only 2-star. Really just wasn't doing much for us. I mean, he played a little bit for us last season. He did okay, but I wouldn't say amazing. And by selling him, we were able to flip him and that other guy that no longer exists, apparently. We were able to flip them into Giuseppe Diodario here, coming in from Man City. He comes in as a 3-star on the right, can play 2.5-star in the middle. So not amazing player necessarily, but a solid player. And he's valued at 49 mil, and we got him for 32 mil. So I feel like we got a little bit of a bargain for him, maybe. He hadn't had the most amazing career stats. I mean, 7.0, 6.82. Honestly, that's not bad for bad stats for being in the Premier League. And so I feel like really, he just comes in as another player that can fill a spot, help us out a little bit. Plus, he has the best crossing of any of our right backs. So I feel like maybe there's a place for him if we need to have somebody in there that can cross really, really well. So I brought him in. I needed some more people. I just wanted some more depth. And that's something that you guys might see a little bit or remember that I mentioned is I wanted to bring in more players than I sent out. Now, I didn't quite do that, but if we take off guys like Bowden and Bittner and Bolter, the 3 Bs here, if we take off those 3 guys, even Nick Kaiser up here, that's 4 players that went out that definitely were not featuring for us at all. Virginius honestly wasn't featured for us at all either. So that's 5 players that went out that we were just not even touching. The only players on this list that I might have used in some way or form or fashion would be Adeyemi, Nubel, and Volpez. Nubel would have been only backup if we lost our main goalkeeper. Adeyemi could have featured a few times as a backup striker, and Volpez as a backup right back or center back, something like that. So 3 players that went out that we probably would have used, and we brought in 7 players. So that's a net gain of 4 players. Feels all right to me. So yeah, again, actually we brought in more than that because we technically brought in Aloni as well here at the bottom. Stankovic here comes in, really just somebody else just to fill another body, because I was noticing that our depth at striker just wasn't extremely strong. Once we got past our 3 starters, it really went downhill from there. And Danny Olmo, 3-star, could play there, and then that was about it. And so I wanted to bring somebody in here that was at least relatively competent. Plus, you know, he might grow throughout the season. Who knows? But the good thing about him is also that he can play, you know, midfielder as well in case we need to do some depth at that spot as well. So he plays a couple spots. I am paying a decent amount for him, but I told them that I was only going to be using him as basically a squad player. So we'll see what he can do. I mean, he had a 7.03 with Serbia a couple years back. His 2 games with Manchester United right now, not amazing stats, but it's only 2 games, small sample size. We'll see what happens. Really, really minimal fees that we're paying for him. And if he doesn't do anything, he doesn't do anything. I wanted just one more person just to kind of fill out our team. So if we go back over to the team report and squad depth, he kind of comes in here as this, you know, 5th player in the striker row, because, you know, if we get 2 injuries, well, then that's Danny Olmo and this guy. And then the next guy down from him would be Stojakovic. I'm going to get these 2 guys confused. Who's all the way down to 2-star. And then we really drop from there. Now, obviously, if we get too many injuries, too many critical injuries in the striker row, we'll probably just go back to the diamond formation, because we do have some guys that can play attacking midfielder fairly well. But here's our team. Pretty decent depth now with striker. Decent depth, lots of depth with midfielder, especially for adding in the underage squads. Let's just pull those off of here now. So a little bit of depth here in the striker, plenty of depth at midfielder, decent depth back here. In fact, if we switch it over to this, the only thing that we're missing is goalkeeper. As of right now, we technically only have 1 goalkeeper because I haven't pulled the guy up from the 2nd squad yet. I probably should go ahead and just officially pull him up. But overall, you know, decent depth in a few places. Honestly, attacking midfielder is one of our weakest spots right now, which is probably a good thing we're not playing it right this second. And so, in fact, I do think I need to go back here. Go ahead and go to here. Let's just move this guy up because he just needs to be a backup for us. He can play for the 2nd team when we don't need him, but he needs to be our backup goalkeeper here. So that'll work for us. And I mean, I could end up suffering if we get a major injury, but I think we'll be okay for now. All right. Let's see here. Oh, overall schedule. We have played a couple of official games. We did play against VfB Stuttgart here. Only beat them 2-1 in the Super Cup, but a win's a win. We got a goal from Hasnut and a goal from Adams. Felt pretty good. We then went up against Bayern, obviously as a friendly, beat them 3-1. Not too bad. A pair of goals from our new guy, Allen. Obviously Hasnut picking up a goal there as well. We then went up against our first German Cup game against a no-name team here. As you can see, we beat them 8-0. Danny Olmo. Danny Olmo actually featured in because Hasnut was just a little bit injured, so we decided to sit him. So Danny Olmo comes in and gets his hat trick. It's actually a perfect hat trick. We got a goal from Eric, a pair of goals from Allen, Alader got a goal, and Johnson got a goal. So goals galore in a game that obviously didn't matter that much, although we still had to win it to continue on in the cup. So still an important game, just not a big deal, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Today we play Mainz in a home game, so that's going to be a good start here in just a moment. Before we get into that, let's go check out the Bundesliga and see, as a final wrap-up, where does our team rate in the overall Bundesliga. Season preview has us evens for winning the championship again. Not a bad place to be. And we have, yet again, nope, we have 7. I was going to say we have 6 again, but I keep forgetting that the goalkeepers' colors are a little bit different. We have 7 of the best 11, which I think last season we started 6 of the best 11. So having 7 feels pretty good. And that's even with just the fact that this is not even the right formation, so to speak. Because I think Allen, if it was featuring more strikers in here, I think Allen would be listed in this as well. But Kashiev comes in here. Obviously, Johnson, Hasnut, Baron, Alader, new guy Alader, and Eric. And of course, our goalkeeper's still there. Do we have anybody else that's in this list that is showing up? Nobody over here on key players. I mean, obviously, Johnson, Hasnut are 2 main key players. So that feels pretty good overall. But yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna do good this season, guys. I really do. But the big thing is the cup games. And the thing about the cup games is, unlike the season, which, I mean, you guys know this. This is stating the obvious, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Unlike the season, where we can lose a couple games throughout the season and still pull out an amazing victory in the end, like we did last season. The cup games, that's the reason they're so hard, is because you lose once, you're out, you're done. We know that so well from last season. So hopefully we can keep it together this season, get through the cup, and go from there. And, you know, maybe even get some pretty far in the Champions League. That would be a lot of fun as well. But that's going to wrap up our transfer special. A lot of stuff going on. I mean, a lot of grades so far. But again, a lot of these games didn't really matter that much. So take it for what you will. Although I do think we've scored a lot more goals in these friendlies than we did last season against some similarly, you know, weakish teams, I suppose. So I think maybe that bodes well for us. We'll see. But I'm excited to get this season started back off again. Get to play around with Hasnut and Johnson and new guy Allen again. See how our striker trio goes. And again, for right now, we're going to play the 4-3-3. We're going to stick with it. Why not? Let's see what we can do with this 4-3-3 narrow. And if worse comes to worse, we'll just swap back to this thing. And I think we'll be just fine either way. And honestly, if we absolutely had to go back to a winger formation, we know that Johnson can play wing on one side. I think, can Omo play on the other side? If not, I think we have a couple guys that can play over there. So we have some options, I think. But I do feel like we have some decent depth here now. Oh, real quick, before I jump in, Soto is injured for a couple weeks. That's a pretty big hit to us. We'll have to see how we can do without him. But thankfully, we have guys like Olmo. We have guys like Adams. We have the Stankovic guy can play midfield. We've got, where is he? Tonga is on here. So we've got lots of guys that can play midfield that are really good. So I think we're going to be just fine. Hopefully, we don't get too many injuries this season, though. But I do appreciate you guys watching. May God bless you. And I hope you join me again next time. Thank you and goodbye.